This week we are simply going to go over some of the logistics of what to expect now that winter season is here, all right? So welcome to the winter. You guys should have received your email this past weekend that pretty much, as Coach Joe has been doing very, very well, which is just laying out what to expect, giving you guys a little bit of a pep talk weekly. And this week he gave you pretty much a very general forecast of what you're going to expect on a daily basis here within the gym. So what we're going to do today is we're going to really break each individual day down. We'll get into my mind a little bit and help you guys understand what your goal is as we progress the next few months as the Open approaches at the end of February. So let's get our 3 breaths and let's get into it. And again, just take this quick moment here to just reflect that where were you last year this time, 2024? What was your lifestyle like? What was your fitness like? And give yourself some credit to understanding that now a year into this, how much you've grown, how much you've learned, how much you've evolved, and also remember that these steps, as you're going through your self-pride and you're patiently contemplating, pursuing your goals, performing consistently, and then when you peak and you start to achieve and see results, so remember to not be in that zone of complacency and just allow yourself to reset and go back to square one and rebuild, just like we will with our upcoming program. So take a deep breath in through your nose. Hold, and let it out. Let it in. Let it out. Let it in. And let it out. All righty. Joe, take it away.
So this quote was inspired by last week. Marco was like, you should just find like a crazy quote by like Mike Tyson or something. So, but there's a caveat to this. This is a very short Mike Tyson quote, but it lives in our universe because it's very frequently mentioned. If you remember by Peter Attia in Outlive, it's a very like commonly used thing throughout that book. Very simple, just says, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And that is a quote by Mike Tyson. So obviously, like, think about this just in terms of everything, like your life, your fitness, like you're never really going to be able to have like a plan that works exactly as you think it's gonna go. Like there's always gonna be something that comes up. Like you might not get punched in the face. Like I've actually never been punched in the face.
Neither have I.
I've been kicked in the face by Brian Morse, who was trying to kick up into a handstand. I've been kicked in the face, but I've never been.
CrossFit fails.
I feel like that stimulus was similar to a punch in the face. I was just trying to help him kick up. Anyway, so I've never been punched in the face, but like I've had plenty of times where like I have a plan, I think it's going to go this way, and then like something happens and it doesn't. And like, what are you going to do to respond in those situations?
Oh man. Well, I've been like hardcore slapped in the face doing slap boxing with my friends when I was like in 8th grade.
You've never been punched?
I've actually, I mean, hey, I'm a pacifist, man.
I've never been in a fight.
That's my Libra vibe. That's my astrology. That's my mindset. That's who I am as a person. I mean, path of least resistance. I mean, I think, I've been in arguments and, deep, disagreements, but not to a point where I've pursued action in terms of physical violence. So that's never really been my route in terms of how I look at the world. But, hey, listen, maybe this is an opportunity for me to get into some sort of boxing progress. Actually, to be honest, I really would. I don't want anything happening to my face. You know what I mean?
No, but just like in general, like your plans are going to get screwed up by something.
No, and we talked about that the other week, right? When I talked about the origins of MFP, right? I mean, this is actually a synchronicity in my life where, you think you're going one way and then something just comes out of the blue and it makes you have to think a little bit differently and to change your perspective. And actually the deeper meaning to that quote is very powerful. And I think it's very useful if we open ourselves up to those possibilities in our life. Like maybe think about maybe look forward to those moments in your life that you go through something that's going to make you drastically have to think differently, or maybe, even make change. And I always say it doesn't have to be obviously this extreme, but like when I had cancer, for example, that I had to shift my mindset to look at it like that. And it's not like that for everybody. And there's a lot of different ways we can go about it. But like, that was something that forced me to have to look at my life a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And I actually see this a lot. It's not that extreme, but like when we see people who go through something that's really going to make them think differently. It could be like an injury. Like we see people who have injuries or have setbacks, and then they come back with like a whole new perspective of like rebuilding, restructuring, taking things back from square one. I personally think those are our greatest allies when it comes to our personal growth. And really, pain is the path. That's a very spiritual saying in the medicine world. Like, pain is the path. And if there's things that are going to make you feel uncomfortable, take a step back, take a second to have that patience and contemplate, what can I learn from this? What can I do with this? So it doesn't necessarily have to be getting punched in the face, even though, maybe that will make you think a little differently.
Thank you, Mike Tyson.
Well, I think that also applies to what we're going to experience, right? Every time I usually write a phase of programming, I say it's just a great time to just take 10 steps back to make 20 steps forward. I don't know if that's a real step analogy there, but slow it down, rebuild, and renew with a whole new phase of what's going to happen for you guys. So just take what you're going to learn. You're going to have new skills, new challenges, and things that are going to make you, feel like you get punched in the face and make you feel like you're humbled and maybe put in a position where you have to now look at what you're doing from a different perspective and a different goal. Maybe your goal was to go as hard as you can, but really you have to do some of these movements with more intent, more mindfulness, more quality to actually achieve, the intensity that we're trying to give you. So yeah, let's dive into some of the things for the winter here. I think the biggest thing is just to realize our main goal, and this is always how we talked about this in previous podcast episodes with programming, but we have goals for every 3 months of program. I think 3 months is a good amount of time to set a phase, because that allows us to have 4 different quarters.
Yeah.
So it just kind of makes sense when we look at a whole year and how it all flows and how it all sets up. We have at least 3 months of development for a certain stimulus. And so this time of year, January, February, March, our main goal is to develop our fitness and our capacity to perform the 3 workouts within the end of February, which is the CrossFit Open. And the reason why it's just a big opportunity, one, for our community to have something to look forward to. 2, it gives us an opportunity to have some sort of testing and baseline of our general physical fitness within the CrossFit methodology. So these 3 workouts will reveal something about our fitness. And 3, give us a little bit more accountability to, just show up, to maybe push yourself, or to maybe get yourself in those positions, to maybe take some steps back so you can relearn and rebuild some new skills.
Yeah, and I find one helpful tool at the Open is that after you've been doing it for a while, you'll have a pretty good understanding of what you really need to work on. And the biggest thing with that is sometimes you do have to take steps back. For me, what I've noticed over the Open is I've never really become and we've talked about this, proficient in muscle ups. This is one year where I would love to take that step and have that be my goal just in 2025 in general. But it's just a great time to learn yeah, of course, what you're excelling at, but also what you need to take a step back on and just kind of humble yourself with, because that's also just a huge part of the growth journey.
Yeah, and I think what we've seen is a whole evolution of the Open. If you don't know what the Open is, if you're new with here the first year, you will know by the end of March or the end of February, right? You're going to get a ton of information through the emails, the communication in classes, and the workouts. And obviously, most of you experienced the Open in the past, or you've done that last week's Friday workout, which was an Open workout from 2011. So I'll talk about a little bit of the history of the Open down the road, or later in this podcast. But right now, let's talk about the workouts and what to expect here as we get going. So first thing is, we have the 3-month phase. So let's just say that's 12 weeks total. So we do this every phase, but we'll have a rotation of 2, 3, or 4 weeks. So last phase in the fall, we were doing a 4-week rotation of 4 different types of weeks of development, and we rotate it through those 4 weeks. 4 weeks, 4 weeks, 4 weeks, boom, that was your phase. So that was September, October, November, and then we did December as we kind of were just testing this previous month. So hopefully you learned some things in December that will kind of slowly trickle into the winter. But we'll also see some commonalities that we were already practicing within the fall and December. So for example, let's talk about Monday. So Mondays in the winter are going to be a continuation of Olympic lifting, or the way we brand Olympic lifting at MFP is we say neuroskills. And the reason why is, one, just the whole concept of Olympic lifting within the general population is extremely intimidating. I mean, you guys obviously, for those who were here today, practice snatching, which is like one of the hardest things that you'll do. And so the theme is Monday, MNP, Monday, neuroskill potentiation. So the idea is that we're learning barbell exercises like the snatch, clean and jerk, different types of variations of skills with the bar, to more so enhance our cognitive function to be able to move our body. And it's not about strength, it's more about power, velocity, speed, quickness, balance, and coordination. So these skills and components of fitness we want to integrate. And then second, it's potentiation. So the idea is that when we do these types of exercises, in terms of your brain health, like, we are waking up more neurons and muscle fibers, even with the lightweight and moving fast. So that's the idea of the theme. And we're going to see a handful of different variations of the positions of the Olympic lift. So with the snatch and clean, like for example today, we're doing all of them: the floor, low hang, hang, and the high hang. So you're going to see a ton of that. It's all going to be focused with light weights. We're not really going to focus on going really heavy. We're going to get a lot of work rest. So we have on-the-minute work, or every 90 seconds. We're going to get a lot of repetition and a lot of sets and a lot of practice. So the idea is just for you to really just take steps back, use a bar, maybe a PVC pipe, maybe some super light weights, and start to develop that consistency, because you'll see consistency with these sets of your speed, understanding positions, understanding the language, right? A lot of people will look at the workouts and like, it's hieroglyphics, I get it. But the more we repeat this, we practice, we can actually start to articulate, the verbiage into a visual. And once we do all these intervals in our sets and our practice, we'll then have some sort of finish, part C, we can call it, where we'll have a little bit capacity work, but we're going to do more strength, skill, focused movements, so maybe something body weight of a gymnastic skill, like today we did pistols, and then we did like the snatch or the press in the bottom of the squat, where like that's where you got to definitely reshape your mindset. Like, it's all about mobility, positions, and stability in those positions. So like pressing a bar off your back, locking it out, getting stable requires a lot of mindfulness in your torso, being upright, where your shoulders are, your stability in your ankles, knees, and hips. And so we'll see stuff like that. For example, next week, we're going to do clean and jerks, catching in a squat. We're going to do some split presses. So we're going to be in that split jerk stance and do strict presses. And then the third week, we're going to focus a lot on the pulling technique, because these first 2 weeks, we're not going to talk a lot about the pulling technique. We're mostly focused on like catching in the squat, like pulling under the bar in the snatch and squat. Next week, we're trying to pull under the bar and catch it clean with fast elbows, fast lockouts. And so that third week is going to be mostly like getting your pull off the ground, getting your bar path, and getting that technique with some heavier loads. So we'll actually balance those first 2 weeks on Mondays.
Yeah, and I think that as we spend a lot of time, like, Fridays in the fall, Mondays in the winter, focusing on Olympic lifting or neuroskills as we call it, is just kind of like reframing your idea of like why we Olympic lift, because like when you think about it, like just kind of ask yourself like why sometimes, because there's a lot of reasons why, and the one reason that's not is like going to the Olympics. Like none of us are Olympic weightlifters, but just what you learn through like just that core to extremity pattern, through the snatch, through the clean and jerk, just how you move your body through space, it really helps you build so much just like body awareness. And like you were saying, like you kind of new neurons start to fire in different ways. Like it is like, I know it's easy to get frustrated with things, especially like today. I mean, today was, a lot of snatching, like sitting in the bottom of a squat overhead press. Like it's challenging, and like it's easy to get frustrated or question like why do this when we could just do a floor press or something, But the reason is like this is going to help you in the way you move and the way you think for a long time. It's like even if you don't recognize it right away, just like keeping that in mind, I think is super important.
Yeah, no, and that's very spot on with that stimulus and that goal, because in reality, we're not trying to the big word on the monitor these days is consistency, right? So in the Olympic lifting world, even Olympic lifters, I mean, true Olympic lifters, they max out all the time. Like we're not doing that, right? Maybe we had some maxing out in testing in December, but like it's really about those 60 to 70% light, fast, powerful, and really just focusing on, positions. Like, can you mindfully feel and understand where your body is in each of these positions and how to adapt to that, like you said, core to extremity.
And like, how do you apply that then to things that are not Olympic lifting here? And like, that's something that you should be keeping in mind. Like when you touch a sandbag, touch a kettlebell, like do a pull-up, anything, you know, just keeping that in mind. Because there's a bunch of people on the, as you know, in like the fitness space some will say that people don't need to Olympic lift. And I disagree with them. I think it's a tool that everybody has value to everybody if you see it through the right lens.
100%. And, look, if people are going to bash Olympic lifting for what it is, so be it. Again, the way we're developing our perspective here is, like you said, it's much more than just all those things. It's really, there's deeper meaning to it. And obviously, like snatching, like we have to be mindful. Like I could see where people in therapy worlds and other fitness backgrounds where they might look at it, from a negative viewpoint, because it does take shoulder mobility, stability, and all that. But what we do here, which I believe we do very, very well, is we have very structured warm-up mobility drills to get you prepared and get your body in the best stable positions as possible to achieve these Monday lifts. So keep coming in with an open mind. I think you guys will really like it. It'll be a good continuation off of our Friday workouts in the fall, even though Fridays we were doing a little bit more resting, more jump work, so just all bar and all positions and all technique, okay? And it will transfer for sure. You'll start to see that as we get into the spring. So Tuesday is going to be our No Shoes Day Tuesday, which has always been a thing. We have to have at least, with every phase, I try to have at least one set day where we are without our shoes and achieving our fitness in that way where we can really get grounded in our feet. Obviously, we're doing that on Fridays in the fall. So with this, the goal is to not only do our No Shoes Day Tuesday, but we're going to do some partner-focused accessory work, which will be a little bit different. We haven't really done stuff where we're like, you usually have a group, you have a partner, we split up, but like this is very actually intentional where you're going to work with somebody and you're going to work through what we call a tri-set, so 3 different accessory exercises. So by accessory, we mean like not major lifts or very challenging in terms of technique, just things that are good for joint health, midline stability. We're going to do unilateral stuff, so work on one side of the body. And it's going to be, at least for the first exercise of those 3, it's going to be a gymnastics movement. So we're going to have push-ups, pull-ups. We're going to have some sort of hamstring development, We'll have, and the second movement and the third movement will be some sort of unilateral, working one side of your body. Again, like tomorrow, we're going to do like straddle sit-ups with a kettlebell on one side. We're going to do some VMO step-ups, calf raise on one side, but you'll do those in synchronization with your partner. So you're going to go, I go, you go on the first exercise, work with each other, help each other maybe assist, add weights. The second two exercises you'll do in synchronization. And again, it's going to be like a feel-good flow. Without your shoes, some of these exercises will make you actually stabilize in your feet. And then we're going to apply that to a second part, which would be like an EMOM-focused workout, a little bit of conditioning, but again, doing some non-traditional stuff that's not very CrossFit-like or open-like. It's actually going to be more about doing some plyometrics, some jump training without your shoes, doing some explosive med ball throwing, doing some heavy, stable work, for example, like different forms of carries, like we're gonna do a front rack carry tomorrow. And yeah, just again, I'll throw in some non-traditional stuff that will go in balance of stuff that you do in the first part with those 3 exercises. So it's gonna be like a good warm up in part A to get you ready for part B, which is usually what we always do with a lot of the workouts. So again, it'll be a good balance to Monday. Neither of these days, Monday and Tuesday, are gonna be super intense, but we'll definitely get you working for the start of your week.
Yeah, and you know the reasoning behind having a partner is intentional too. Like, don't my only other piece of advice that I would add on is like, you know, actually work with your partner. Like, there is a lot of value to obviously like really committing to movement where you're required to like assist one another, but also like doing things in sync. Like, it's just another form of, it's another stimulus that is like super valuable, just thinking about how you move, the pace in which you move in a relationship to others. So don't be that person who's like, oh, my partner's too slow, I'm just ditching, I'm doing my own thing. You know, right. Stick with your partner.
No, that's actually a great point, because that's the intent for Tuesdays. It really is. I mean, this is also part of like us trying to expand that mission of like the community vibes, right? So we were playing around with this the past few weeks. Like on Monday, we were doing like the power partner workouts.
They're fun.
They were fun, right? I mean, they give you guys an opportunity to chat a little bit, get to know each other, you know, do something where like it's when you're working with a partner, it kind of takes you out of your own mind a little bit. And, you know, some people are not really into, you know, partner stuff or doing it with, you know, sharing weights. Am I doing it right? But that's the challenge. That's the idea. Like, that's part of your personal growth, is to like get you into a space where like you're working with somebody. And so the challenge, I think, what we're going to try to do is get you guys working with different partners. Like, if you usually work with somebody that's, you know, the same partner always, like, let's switch it up a little bit. Let's try to work with somebody else, get out of your comfort zone. I'll probably pair you guys up with randos, you know, so maybe get used to it. Maybe it's, you know, co-ed partners. Maybe it's a partner you never really talked to in class. So be prepared, all right? Tuesdays are going to be fun. And again, plan to have the no shoes vibe. That's a tradition at MFP that will always stay.
It's a long lasting tradition.
It's a long, I mean, it's here to stay, guys. I mean, there's value to it. There's a science to it. We'll talk about that down the road. All right, so Wednesday. Wednesday is all about, we call it the strongHuman hump day. So obviously hump day vibes and strongHuman, which is just the idea of using non-traditional objects like sandbags. We'll do double kettlebell overhead. We'll do, you know, some different farmer variations, which is basically part of the strongman community. I say strongHuman because I think it's strongHuman, but yeah, it's just really just getting non-traditional, not using a barbell, because we already did all that on Monday, and giving you guys a part A where it's going to be kind of like warming up, developing, getting you guys ready with some sort of static holds of the sandbag, kettlebells, dumbbells. And then there's going to be another movement that's going to be a banded exercise. So we're going to do some unilateral stuff and some holds. That's really going to work mostly your midline. So a lot of midline development, which will be the first part. Because really that's the whole idea with strongHuman stuff. It's like, to be truly strong, it all starts within the space from your glutes, your hips, to your stomach, to your midline, all the way up to your shoulders. So it's all one complete unit, and really that's the idea. So we'll get some of that work, and then we'll get into some intervals for the second part. So by intervals, meaning you're going to work quickly, have a decent amount of rest, try to incorporate some typical CrossFit type movements, like we'll do some gymnastic skills like pull-ups, dips, handstand work, but also utilize the sandbag, kettlebells, or dumbbells that we do in part A to do, again, some sort of non-traditional metabolic conditioning. And so this will be a longer clock, but again, you're going to do intervals. You're going to work within, every 2 minutes, every 3 minutes. You'll complete your exercises. You'll rest the remainder of the time. And you'll see a progression within the first chunk, and then from the first chunk to the second chunk of skill. So for example, this week we have Wednesday, it's sandbag carry, regular pull-up, first chunk of intervals, and the next chunk of intervals is sandbag over the shoulder and a harder progression of pull-up, maybe a bar muscle-up or chest to bar pull-up. So there's going to be increasing of your skill and intensity through that Wednesday flow.
Yeah, and I think this will really allow people to, and allow members and to just like think differently about what it means to be strong, because it's so easy to have like a compartmentalized view in terms of like, oh, like I typically like could do this, like, I move a barbell like this, I move dumbbells like this, but like, I feel like the heart and soul of the CrossFit methodology is just knowing that you're never going to be able to predict, like, in terms of like, there's never going to be one set way of determining like what strength is, and it's infinitely applicable to a bunch of different tools. And I think that using the sandbag, there's a reason why they used the sandbag in the CrossFit Games a few years ago.
Yeah.
Like that's just like, and like, well, for the max lift,
the max sandbag on the shoulder.
I mean, there's a reason why, like, that strong doesn't have a look, like strength doesn't have a look. It's so, it's so dependent on, circumstances that you have to either face yourself or that kind of get thrown upon you. So just kind of redefine strength. And I think these flows are going to be awesome.
Yeah, and I think the big part that we'll see in these first 3 days is a lot of strength and stability stuff. I mean, either if it's the light Olympic lifting, if it's the accessory on Tuesday, if it's, Wednesday in the first part, like that's a big part of longevity, by the way. Like when we talk about strength training, we should be strength training for lean muscle mass, stability, for metabolic health, 3 to 5 times a week. The conditioning actually is just extra. I mean, like conditioning intensity could be, 1 to 2 times high, 2 to 3 times moderate, and 1 to 2 times like very low intensity. So these first 3 days aren't going to be super intense. They'll be mostly moderate, because when we get to Friday, we're going to pick up the intensity. But when we get to Thursday, actually before that, that's the longevity. Now we're going to switch it up in terms of, we'll still have this long 25-minute clock, maybe up to 30 some days of, like, we'll say zone 2, which is very low intensity, trying to get things moving. We'll see machine work, see some body weight stuff, but we're going to add in, we call the KB longevity. So KB is the kettlebell, and I've introduced this before, much more complicated in the past, but kettlebell flows, which is basically you swinging and flinging a kettlebell. I forget how Joe was talking about. He talked about a lightsaber.
Like a lightsaber, man.
He talked about the lightsaber in the
like a Jedi.
In the newsletter. So I mean, yeah, that's pretty much the idea. Like you're swinging that thing like a lightsaber, but it's very flow like a methodical. And we really see when we introduce like some of the basic kettlebell flows that you'll see when we do sequential movements, like how beneficial. One, it's not just for your mobility, your stability, your coordination, your neurological enhancement, the unilateral work, the cross body work, but also for your conditioning. Like you'll see, like you'll do a few of these complexes, you're going to be breathing, even with a light kettlebell. So people get intimidated by it. They're like, oh, all these kettlebell flows, and some people might be thrown off by it, but stay open-minded. When you do them, they don't have to be perfect, right? Just learning, you'll have plenty of repetition. The idea is like, how do we get ourselves on longevity days in the flow state where it feels like things are just sequential, movement after movement after movement, whether it's on the cardio machine, the body weight stuff, and really just get yourself into that mind space where you can maintain and stay in that very low intensity zone.
Yeah, I think I have like a thought on intensity, like, and this is related to not just Thursdays, but also Wednesdays. When we think of intensity, like sometimes we get so like narrow-sighted, like we think of it as like doing Fran, like just our heart rate spiked, light movements, simple movements, just flying, or even like higher intensity being like something like a long aerobic endurance workout. But I don't know, try to think of intensity differently too, is like something that I encourage a lot of members. Like, I know I like to think of it like as like, you know, you're a video game character and you have an energy wheel. Like for me, like if you're doing it right, like that stamina wheel on Wednesdays after like heavy stability with odd objects,
Yep.
like heavy strength movement, and even just like the focus of doing kettlebell flows on Thursdays, like
Stamina wheels working.
that stamina wheel should be pretty low. Like you're not flying around doing 100 burpees, but like you're applying energy in a different way. So like in terms of intensity, I think that like that word gets thrown around a lot, but like I like to use the stamina wheel, you know, like because like the stamina wheel is going to be low. It's just you're applying that energy, you're using that energy in different ways, and if you're doing it right, like you know, stamina will be low on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah, you'll be working for sure, guys. So I mean,
the magic potion.
These first few weeks, totally just take it low key and just get your body into rhythm and see how you can adapt within the first week. And it's because the idea is we're really building up to Friday. Friday is going to be it's going to be the day that we do the Open. For those who are not familiar, when we get those announced at the end of February. But yeah, what we're going to do, which is a little bit different than previous years, but like we're just going to do an open workout, either an open workout exactly how it was written from the past, whether if it's anywhere between the years of 2011 to 2024, or it's a variation of one of those workouts where I switch some things up into the flow that best suits our layout of our gym in terms of space, you know, equipment and all those things. So, or maybe it's an upgrade of one of those workouts that are a little bit more challenging. But the idea is we're just going to do one piece. We'll have what we call a primer before we do the open workouts, because if there's anything we need to know about open workouts is that this is like the pure high intensity, like that's going to make you work, and it's going to make you feel like, you know, you got a little copper in your mouth. It's going to put you in a dark place. You know, you're still going to need to strategize and pace and have mindful movement and breathe and be consistent and have set management and all those things. But it's really about, you know, starting to get into that threshold of getting uncomfortable during that time as those rounds and reps and everything starts to build up on these open workouts. So the primer is important because, you know, you don't want to just go into an open workout like that just stale or a low heart rate. Like you need to have a heart rate spike. And I think this is good for you guys to apply for like when you do Friday Night Lights and you guys start warming up, is like do something that's going to spike your heart rate that's very much like the exercises that you're going to do. Maybe it's a little bit more potentiated. For example, we'll do heavier dumbbell snatches in the primer this Friday before we do the light dumbbell snatch for high reps. So you want to do these things to, one, get your heart rate up, get the blood flowing, get things pumping, and to get you more activated and primed, so that way when you do some of the exercises in the open workout, they're going to feel lighter, a little bit more smooth, so you can continue to get more reps, maybe a little bit quicker, or just, again, have that better pace and awareness as you guys are flowing through it. So, yeah, just one piece, and that's it. And we're really going to focus on that open intensity, and now seeing the evolution of the open. It seems to be that like mostly we're not going to work with very, very high skill work in terms of like doing snatches or, you know, doing squat, clean and jerks, or doing like high volume of like handstand push-ups or ring muscle ups. It looks like that's not going to be the focus. It's really about like simple stuff. Like last year we did dumbbell snatch and burpee, easy. Deadlift, rowing, jump rope, easy. Thruster and pull up, classic CrossFit. It's almost been in every open. A little bit more skill, obviously, but that's like pure pain cave when it's light. So obviously we're going to try to work on, you know, pull-ups will probably show up in the open. So we know we want to get there, toes to bar, you know, light dumbbell snatches, burpees, rowing, machine work, getting a lot of rounds and reps. And probably within that 10 to 15 minute time domain is that classic CrossFit Open workout stimulus, right? It's probably not going to be shorter than that. for some of them. So we're going to continue that one piece. We're going to still have our gratitude work, just because the idea with gratitude is not just community and bonding. There is a science to how, when you share and express something in your life or anything in your life that you have gratitude for, you are literally bringing positive frequencies into your whole being, and that begins to allow you to manifest good things in your life. You might not see it tangibly, you might not understand the energy, but you guys hopefully by now feel it. When there's a good circle, like you walk out of here, you feel lighter, you feel happier, you feel just like, wow, I feel positive. And there's a real science to how energy works like that within gratitude work. So we're going to continue that, and it's just going to be our long-term tradition here for sure.
Yeah, the Friday theme, like, just don't forget the mental part of it, because all these open workouts, you know, like, very few of these workouts do you have to like really think about a movement. Like, it's one of those things where like they provide a great opportunity for growth, just because they're really hard, but like you can do it, and it's just like, you know, kind of getting yourself in that mental place to, you know, get out of your comfort zone, because a lot of them are getting out of your comfort zone, especially through movements that are like relatively not complicated, you know. So, and it translates into the gratitude circle as well. Like, I think Fridays are just also a great day just for your like mental, emotional growth and fitness beyond just like, obviously physically you're going to be working, but that's the other side, man.
Well, you know, you really reminded me here with like, let's practice a good habit with these next few weeks of like not coming out too hot. Because when we get to the Open and those 3 weeks workouts and come, and you're going to get all excited, we're going to have our teams, we're going to do all these fun things. We'll talk more about it down the road, but
don't listen to him, Victor.
Don't come out, dude. Don't come out and it's 5 minutes and you look in the clock and you're already in the dark place. You guys probably learned that from this past Friday, deadlift, hammer was pushing, box jump over. Like, you got a few rounds in, you're like, oh shit, I got a whole another 10, 12 minutes. So right now we can practice the art of pacing intensity and ramping up, so that way we can get the best out of our open tests and our open workouts.
It is an art.
It is an art.
There's an art to pacing, and then there's an art to turtle mode. There's turtle mode, there's pacing, and then there's dark. So you got to find play around with it.
Yeah, and some of you guys are on like one of those spectrums. Some of you guys come out too hot. Some of you guys don't come out or don't push yourself. Yeah. So now's the time to experiment with it.
Yeah.
And that's going to lead us into Saturday. So we have a little change here. Saturday endurance was previous. That's been always a big theme, like a long clock, long workout, more like a hero workout style we've been doing. But we're going to switch that up since Friday is going to be so intense. You know, a little less volume and less intensity, but more so like, let's kind of restructure, rebuild. We'll have this multi-dimensional moderate movement. So moderate versus high intensity that we do Friday, because you're going to be sore, you're going to be feeling it. And so we want to do some movements that are restructuring, non-traditional, like we'll do Zercher style cyclist squats. We'll do different forms of like landmine movements, like landmine clean, snatches, the coiling. And we'll also do some gymnastic skill development work, because it might be a good day for you guys to just like practice some good quality, whether if it's like handstand inversion work, maybe it's ring muscle up development, ring support, ring push up, ring pull up progressions, stuff that's going to allow you to get practice and repetition of more difficult gymnastic body weight skills. And we'll throw all that together into that multi-dimensional on the minute work within the second part. So it'll be 2 parts. We haven't really done that much on Saturdays with 2 parts, but think of it as like accessory, non-traditional stuff. It will still be a little spicy. You know, there will be challenge for sure, but don't feel like you have to send it, right? It's more about just like moving well, reset a little bit after Friday, and give you guys some ability to look forward to, you know, just moving quality work in the Saturday. And ideally, because Sunday is boot camp, that's like an endurance workout for you guys, right? So maybe if you want that longer stimulus, that longer time domain, you know, that will give you guys some accountability if you guys want to go to the Sunday class versus doing like 2 endurance workouts back to back. So we'll ride that out for the 3 months, and then once we get into the spring, we'll kind of ramp things back up on the weekends for Murph. But Yeah. So, and again, if you're not really familiar with the Open and the goals, definitely start reading your emails more thoroughly. Obviously, Coach Joe has been very communicative with what we're doing here and how we're going to start to see things progress. And so, definitely get your education, especially if you're new, to like what we're going to experience on a weekly basis. And Joe, you've been putting it together, man. So it's been good stuff.
Yeah, the Open's the best. Also, appreciate all fans of the newsletter. A lot of the newsletter is both an art and a science. So, but the Open's awesome. I mean, I just like, in addition to learning about what it is, like, which is just the biggest open fitness competition around the world, where like every CrossFit affiliate will partake. Just also view it as like the best MFP community experience, because it's like a fitness bonanza here for 3 weeks, and Friday night, like, energy's great. We'll stick with our intramural teams and have like some like friendly intramural competition, but it's just like it's like CrossFit Christmas. I know like Christmas is over, but it's like it's the best time of year, and like it is a really good way to standardize and test fitness, because the goal of this is to do it for a long time, not just to do it for a year, not just to do it for 2 years, but I mean, this will be like my 10th Open. Like, look back and look back and look back and see where you're at, and just keep playing that, keep playing that.
100%, man. The most wonderful time of the CrossFit year is really is February. So the Open will start on February 27th. That's the Thursday. So the 28th will be that Friday, is when we'll do the first workout. Again, in 3 weeks, nothing changed from the past few years. They announced the workout Thursday. I'll do the workout Thursday to give everybody an idea of what it's going to feel like, look like, give you guys some feedback. And then Friday, we all do the workout as a team. Obviously, when we have teams and people want to do makeups, we'll talk about all that down the road. But yeah, and it's good because we'll have judges. You'll judge each other, score each other, hold each other to good rep standards. And it really is just a great opportunity to just kind of see where you're at. I mean, the Open is notorious to have repeats of workouts, definitely repeats of exercises. If we want to be able to achieve thrusters at 95 pounds, 65 pounds, like you'll probably see something like that. If you want to get better at RX wall walks, or dumbbell snatching 50 or 35 pounds, or being able to, do double unders, toes the bar, different skills, or just like seeing where your capacity is at. You'll probably actually have some Open workout repeats like we're doing right now. We're repeating workouts from the past to like test and see where you were at, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So the repeats are very common. And again, if you don't know where to start or don't know where to go, if this isn't familiar with you, if you're new, just go look up on our website. Actually, you can go on our website, CrossFit FP. You'll see like a tab like the CrossFit Open. In the newsletter, there's a tab, and there's the CrossFit Games website where you can look up the CrossFit Open. But it really is a worldwide phenomenon. We get to take a part of it as the collective CrossFit community. And it's just a great opportunity, again, for us to have something to look forward to and to come together. And it's really that simple. And so usually what we get is just a little bit of pushback sometimes from people like, oh, I'm not sure. I don't know if I'm ready to test and see where I'm at. That's the idea. Like, even if you're just starting, like, see where you're at. Like, the idea for people that push back away is just an opportunity for them to have personal growth, to commit to trying something, getting out of their comfort zone, whether if you do the class or if you do Friday Night Lights.
Yeah, face some fears, try something new, and just know that like everybody started exactly where you are. Like, everybody felt that same exact way, whether it's a coach, or whether it's someone that you're friends with in class. Like, everybody knows that feeling, and like, just face it, because you're in a supportive environment. And however, Team Blueberry is making a big push this year, so we'll see how supportive Team Blueberry is.
Father Breathers are reigning champs here, so I don't know.
It was rigged.
We'll give you guys more information of intramural stuff and all the fun stuff as we get a little bit closer. But right now, for you, just focus on just showing up, getting consistent, getting the workouts in, getting familiar with these Friday Open workouts. You can go on the CrossFit website, and go look up all the previous open workouts. What's the open? What to expect?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we'll find ways to make it our own unique open workout here at MFP this year. Maybe we'll do something a little bit different. And usually we have some sort of registration process via the games. Maybe, who knows? Maybe we'll do our own registration here at MFP. But there's going to be some sort of sign-up process where we actually, standardize you guys for being a part of the Open, being a participant, and getting on an intramural team. So,
yeah.
All right, that's all I got here. All right, Joe, anything?
Just be consistent. Everything, you'll get the most out of this if you just consistently show up. Even if you're not at your best, even if you look at the workout and you're just like, oh man, I don't know if I could do that. Just consistently show up, and you'll notice a difference in 12 weeks.
Yeah, we'll take care of you guys. And it's not always easy. This is a hard program. It's a hard things that we do here, but there is reward, there is progression, there is the light at the end of the tunnel when you are able to really start to buy in to what we do here. So we're excited, right? Follow these 5 Ps. We've been talking about it. And, start with that inner pride, right? What's the best version of yourself looking like this year? And that way you can continue to think about it, take steps back with patience, so that way you can pursue, perform, and peak, by taking 10 to 20 steps forward. So, all right, well, that's it. Okay, I love you guys.
Peace.
All right, we'll see you next week. We got a guest next week.
Surprise
I'll give you
guest.
a surprise. All right, we'll surprise
Well, I'll
you.
give a clue. He only does the 6:15 class.
That's a good clue.
And he's been here for years. He's never been to another class.
A lot of you guys will be like, who the heck is this
Man
guy?
of routine.
Man of routine. Well, we're excited to have a guest next week, all right? We'll see you then.
Peace.